Hey boys and girls. So I've had a lot of people ask me about my seasoning, my rub, and particularly Meat Meth. Now for those who didn't know, I used to actually make and sell rubs, but in all honesty I was kind of a bitch about what I used and I was doing everything by hand and I couldn't keep up with it. It was consuming a ton of time, and because of the stuff that I chose to use, there was just nothing. It was basically me just making rubs and just sending them out, and that was it. So I stopped doing it. I did enjoy doing it, but you know, like I said, it just didn't fit any longer. But after that, they were extremely complicated, to a point to where it would take, you know, a good amount of time and a fair amount of different ingredients. I mean, I would go to Indian spice shops and get Kashmiri powder, and I mean, just all sorts of different things. Just playing with flavors and things like that, which is something that I've always just enjoyed. It's just, you know, I think it's part of it. You know, I think the seasoning on the meats, even though being a purist, you know, helps a lot. You know, makes a difference. But over time and lack of time and life and adulting and all that other good stuff, I tried to simplify it a little bit. And, you know, so I've just kind of read here and there and, you know, this and that, and just kind of settled on this as a baseline kind of rub. You know, the Meat Meth is really just a baseline. Now it is, I mean, it's all purpose. I mean, I've tried it on everything. I love it, you know. But you can adapt it to other meats, you know. I mean, it's great for beef, which is, you know, I think everybody's well aware. That's by far my favorite. I'm a beef guy, you know. But if you wanted to use it on pork, or, you know, if you wanted to use a sweeter profile, you can take this baseline and, you know, you add a little brown sugar to it, or, you know, a little cumin, you know, a little mustard powder, you know, and just kind of take it towards the barbecue side of things. Or you know, if you wanted to use, you know, on some bird, you know, you toss a little thyme in there, toss a little oregano in there, you know, just stuff like that, you know. But I find that it's a really good baseline. It's got great flavor. It creates an excellent crust. It sears beautifully without it burning. And there's essentially two versions. There's the rustic version, you know, which is just that coarse ground, you know, I mean, when you're trying to achieve some bark kind of thing. And then there's the crust, you know, where it's just, you just want to season up a steak or whatever, you know. So we're going to make both of them today. Super simple. You know, I probably could have just posted a recipe, but I just kind of wanted to describe and explain my thought process here, you know, about using this as a baseline type rub, you know, and taking it from there. You know, I mean, I keep the salt kind of minimal. And as if you've seen any of my stuff, you know, I use the Moldon Flake sea salt. So if you are using something different, I would seriously suggest coarse, you know, nice coarse ground sea salt or coarse ground kosher. If you're using the, you know, the other salt, I would definitely cut the measurement down a lot, you know, because you're going to get more volume with that smaller grain, you know, salt, stuff like that. So if you're using that, you know, I don't want to hear it's too salty. Well, you know, you gotta tone it down a little bit. I can't really, I couldn't really tell you how much to tone it down because I don't use that stuff. So I figured I'd get my iodine when I'm out and about, and, you know, I pop into McDonald's or I hit Taco Bell, or, you know, I'm not going to use it at the house. I like to use a good salt at the house. So let's make some Meat Meth. So I got two starts right here. This is a tablespoon of Moldon sea salt and a tablespoon of quarter cracked black pepper. A lot of times it's called butcher style. Sometimes it's called chef style. It's essentially just a, yeah, it's going to be hard to see, but it's big, you know. I mean, it is cracked, you know, quarter. So pepper has just a nice reaction to fire when you're grilling, and a nice reaction to smoke. You know, it kind of acts as like an aggregate on that meat, and it just, that smoke just sticks to it, and you know, it almost develops a entirely different flavor, you know. So that's why I like to use a nice coarse ground black pepper. Again, if you're using the fine ground stuff, I would probably tone it down a little bit, because you're gonna get more volume in that tablespoon, you know. So like I said, we got a tablespoon of salt and a tablespoon of pepper. And then right here, we have a tablespoon of smoked paprika. You could use Mexican paprika. Hell, you could use sweet paprika. You could use chili powder if you want. You know, if you really want to take, you know, get some smoky depth in there or whatever. I just find for a good all-purpose, the smoked paprika works great. Not to mention it's awesome color. You know what I mean? So we got that in there. And then we have, I use granulated garlic and granulated onion powder. So we have a teaspoon of each of that. Teaspoon of granulated garlic and a teaspoon of granulated onion powder. Or onion, sorry, misspoke. Then we have some coriander. I use just short of a teaspoon. I would probably say half a teaspoon of coriander. That's ground, by the way. And then I have a teaspoon of cayenne. Yeah, I know it seems like a lot, but it really kind of balances out. I mean, if you find it a little too spicy, you know, you can always tone the cayenne down. That's, you know, per preference. And turmeric. This is a half teaspoon of turmeric. And that's it. Seriously. I like to just give it a little shake, make sure everything's broken up, and I always use my hand just because I know I have control over it. I start from the bottom, pull it up. You know, if you're going to put this in a bottle, I always make them, you know, right when I'm about to use them, so I don't really like to let them sit around or anything like that. But if you do, make sure you give it a mix, because all that heavy stuff, that nice coarse ground stuff, is going to settle to the bottom of the bowl, you know, or the jar or the shaker, whatever you have them in. So, and, you know, so you got these chunks of salt in there, and then that's that. And it's just really good. It's really good. So now let's discuss the Rustic. It's essentially the same exact setup. Now, I've done this two ways. Excuse me. You can use the same ingredients. Oh, left a little turmeric in here. The only thing I swap out is I use a chopped garlic and a chopped onion. Now, if I'm doing something like searing, but I want it to go to the rustic side, I'll use a half and half. I'll use half of the granulated, you know, so that's the kind of stuff that soaks into the meat. And then half of the chopped, which is that stuff where it still gives it flavor, but it just lays that bark out. You know what I mean? And it picks up that smoke and it does all that good stuff. So we're going to mix this right here. So let me grab my teaspoon. So in our kiddie pool here, let me grab the other ingredients. I didn't have enough ramekins, so we have our smoked paprika. We got our tablespoon of salt, our tablespoon of black pepper. We are going to do, wrong one, a tablespoon of paprika. Okay, tear the place apart here. We're going to do I forgot the coriander. 1 second. Sorry, guys. We're going to do a half teaspoon of the coriander. And then we are going to do a nice teaspoon of the chopped garlic. Nice teaspoon of the chopped onion. Teaspoon of the cayenne. And I only have my little thing of turmeric right now. We are gonna do a half, oh, we got a little log in there. Half teaspoon of the turmeric. Give this guy a mix up here. And like I said, if you want, if you want to add the granulated part, you could just honestly just toss another half teaspoon of the granulated onion and the granulated garlic. And this is what you get. So you got the same color, same profile, except this guy here is gonna make some serious bark. So I call that the rustic one. And I'll use that on brisket, things like that. And then that I use on everything. Like I said, it's a great baseline. It's got a lot of flavor to it. There's a little kick in the back end and it's just good. It's lip smacking, man. So, excuse me. So I hope that, hope that answered all the questions I was getting about the meat meth. Like I said, it's, from here, you can go anywhere with it. You can toss a little this in it, toss a little that in it. Just try to keep that ratio. I like to keep the main three heavy. And if you want to add some mustard powder, I would say a teaspoon. Or a teaspoon, just like the other secondary flavors that got put into it. Just keep it around that ratio and you'll be good. Some oregano and thyme is great on the chicken, especially a little bit of cumin too. If you're smoking the chicken, it can go anywhere. The world's your oyster, man. So, but otherwise, that's all I got. I know I had a lot of people asking me. Hope it helped them. Give it a shot. See if you like it. So, all right, that's all I got.